Hi everyone, it's Aaron with Crypto Trends. Today is March 6th, 2018. Today we are taking a look at Zilliqa. Please keep in mind that this is not financial advice, just my opinion. So moving on to coin market cap, which is 436 billion with a Bitcoin dominance of 41.6%. If we bring up their charts, we can see that they're a fairly new coin, and they've been sitting. They're roughly bouncing around between 9 and 15 cents. Okay, overall they're sitting pretty flat. They are a fairly new coin, and they just got listed on Binance, and they got Binance. By that I mean they got listed and they just took a dump. They took a big dump and went down, 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 down. Now, one thing to note is that, going down is good for us, right? Yay! Because that means we can buy. And lo and behold, in the last few, about last hour or two, it looks like people are starting to buy. Yay! I have the 30-minute candles here, by the way. So yay, go up, go up. Anyway, back to Zilliqa. Whoops. First, got to show you their markets, where you can get this guy. Well, we've already seen, get out of there. We've already seen Binance, Wabi, Gate.io, etc. Social, good social. They're active on their tweets, which is nice to see. Also, they have a good Reddit. So check those out at your leisure. Also, if you click on their website, which is this little link right here, takes you to this page. And, it's a good website. They have an absolute ton of information on here, which is really important so you guys can do your own research. There's no way I can cover all of this information here. They have a fantastic, they call it like a monster mega fact sheet. Read it over. It's very well documented. They also have a white paper, they have a technical paper, etc. And you can get this information here from these links. See white paper, position paper, smart contract paper, their mega fact thing. Smart contracts, these guys want to be a high throughput blockchain platform. So that means that they are, in the same market as like Ethereum and Neo, etc. Okay, they're a platform. So moving back on the little write-up thing here that I've done, one thing that makes Zilliqa really interesting is its sharding. They are actually having sharding going on in addition to their smart contracts. They're also saying that they have near linear scalability, which is, pretty cool. Here's the roadmap. Interesting thing about their roadmap is that their Q2 of 2018, they're going to launch their public mainnet. And after that, Q3, start releasing the distributed applications, the dApps. Moving on to their consensus protocol, they're using a practical Byzantine fault-tolerant type of system. Now, within that, they have proof of work, and the POW is used to elect and or update the DSC. The DSC is the Directory Service Committee. So basically these are the big nodes that are the big master nodes that are sitting on top. And below that you have smaller nodes, the shards, where they form a quorum and let's go ahead and read this, okay? You have the DSC, the Directory Service Committee, coordinates sharding process. So they do that. They coordinate the shard processing, validate blocks of transactions from the shards, which is quite interesting. They verify that there's enough quorum within the shards. Now, within the quorum, within the shards, they're assuming that about a third of the shards, below the DSCs are going to be hostile, which is, in my opinion, fairly reasonable. So we'll see. You can take from whatever you want of that. Okay, a third of them are going to be hostile, or have bad code, or something breaks, etc. Also, another interesting thing is that they're using EC Schnorr, or elliptical curve Schnorr signatures and multi-signing for multi-sig stuff. Basically, a schnorr is a well, it's a signature. Is the simplest. It's the simplest, basically, signature scheme that can be really provable when there's something when it's in a random type of selection or environment or oracle, etc. Now that's really cool. Check out elliptical curves if you haven't, and also schnorr as far as cryptophotography goes. Pretty interesting read, yeah. So I got a lot of giggles out of it, as in fun and interesting, not as not going there. Dry as heck, right? Dry as heck. So more on their sharding here. What they're doing is they want to split up a large network of machines processing transactions into parallel subcommittees, and these subcommittees are the shards. And within the shards, you have a quorum. Okay, so each shard processes its own micro block in parallel, and this is to reach consensus on a subset of transactions. So that's really quite interesting on how they propose to do this, and we'll see what comes of it. Subsets of transactions can be processed in parallel. Very interesting. And they've come up with, we'll cover that in just a bit on how they are going to accomplish this. The microblock blocks are merged into a final new block and then written to the blockchain. So that happens up at the big at the big master node levels, the DSC, right? That's where that happens. That gets written to the big old blockchain. A lot of the other stuff is happening at the lower levels, the shards. Now a shard communicates asynchronously with the other shards, only to transfer the transactional data. Okay. The also atomic transaction commits without involving cross-shard communication. That's yeah. I'm still taking a look at that. Okay. Quite interesting, though. Very interesting. They're saying that block time should be within 2 minutes. Hopefully that's quick enough. Hopefully it gets quicker, of course, with the near linear scalability. In the future, they want to have something that's really interesting. I found interesting, and that is they want to be able to securely prune the dated block stored on the blockchain. In other words, when you have a blockchain, you have a block here, and then you have your SHA-256 or whatever going on, and so you have your Genesis block, and then you have a transaction come on another block, and then the transactions within it, they get encrypted, and then also within that, you also have that gets encrypted. It means it spits out the great big long encryption string that we can't read. It's the numbers and the letters, right? It's kind of like the key that you see the like your key when you're going to, or address when you're transferring Bitcoin or whatever. You want your Bitcoin address. That's an encrypted string. But anyway, so you have this encrypted string from the Genesis block, and then you have, okay, new transaction. So this transaction gets encrypted, but within that you also have the previous block hash, its encryption. So it gets pushed into here, into the next block, and so basically you have a link between the Genesis block and the new one, and then it goes on and on and on and on, and it creates a huge block. Anyway, so you can think of the stuff, back at the Genesis block or the older blocks here. If those are pruned off and basically put into a type of archive, think of a database. It's where you have your active transactions going for, like, let's say the month, okay? So your bank account, you have your active transactions, you have your deposits, your withdrawals, etc. And so the database is only looking at the current month's data. And then if you want to go back and look at your account balance or transactions for the entire year, okay, fine. Then it can go back and query the archived data. But it's not here in the active thing. If they can pull this off with the secured pruning, which I really think is a very interesting concept, then they can really get some. That could really be huge. Okay, that could really be huge in my opinion. In addition to their sharding, and their sharding is quite interesting. And to pull that off, they with their smart contracts, they have a Zilliqa, which is a smart contract intermediate level language. So they are basically developing their own programming language to do this. And it follows a data flow programming paradigm. Yeah, contracts. So you can have like a contract if you've seen a contract for Ethereum on how it's written and so on. They can split the contract into nodes where the nodes are like the instructions or operations. Now, the nodes fire at a time when all the inputs are available. This is really interesting. So instead of, let's say you have a function, and then a function you'll say, okay, get balance. And then within that get balance, you have to tell it the parameters. Okay, you have to say, okay, well, get the balance for my account and for the start date and for the end date, etc. So these are like little things you put in. Like a little search query. Okay, let's just think of it like that. I'm being really, really simplistic here. So you have a function, boom. Now, for that function in the contracts, as far as I understand this, can be broken down into a segment. And you can have different functions within this smart contract. And when all the inputs that are required for that function, okay, it won't go until it has like the start date, or it won't go until it has your account balance. That information could be processed up here by other nodes because they're working like in parallel and so on. So you can have the information come and it's just sitting ready, which is kind of cool. But once it gets all of them, boom, it fires. Really, really cool. This is like super duper uber cool when it does that, and it's really cool, and it's awesome. Okay, it's awesome. It's kind of like the difference between just standard programming line by line by line by line by line to all of a sudden you have like callbacks like in Node.js, where something, let's say it's asynchronous, so you can have something go into its thing and then it can go to the next thing, and while it's processing over here, this thing can go and take the next little chunk and throw it over here to this computer, and it processes and does its thing. Meanwhile, the one that the first one that got fired off, hey, it sends the information back to like that function, that begin date, and then this one gets done. Okay, once it has all those in, boom, it fires and executes the code. Really, really, really cool. Okay, I hope that made sense to you guys. If not, leave a comment and I'll try to make sense out of it for you guys. Yeah. So the nodes fire at the time when all the inputs are available, and that's what this language Skilla, or however you say that, Skilla, yeah, that's what's going to make that possible. I was looking at this, I'm thinking, oh man, they're writing their own language. I wish they had used something like Rust. Rust would have been like totally awesome, but apparently, I'm pretty sure they took a look at it and they decided to roll their own here. Okay, fine, we'll see how that works. Give them the benefit of the doubt. They're new, and so I had some questions on this. So does the like as far as this timing goes on how it checks, is it like a continuous polling? So like every so many milliseconds does it look to see, oh, do I have all the parameters? Oh, do I have all the parameters? Oh, do I have all the parameters? Okay, so that's one thing that I need to actually go look into the code or ask the guys about. To me, that's important because I'm a nerd. Also, do the calls? Does the call check routine when the data is transmitted? When the data gets transmitted, another way to do it is, okay, fine. Instead of a polling, you can have it so when it gets called, so when you could have a one section here where the once how something gets thrown off a little subsection, so the program is basically running in parallel. When one of the sections that it one of the little like functions that it's working on to be processed, when it gets done, does it say, okay, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to transmit the data, and then I'm going to trigger like some type of overall triggering mechanism to go and check the statuses for the next function to see, okay, are all the parameters in, so I can fire this other function. Quite interesting. I have to take a look at that code and so on. So I do have some deep questions that I need to check out, but overall, very, very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. So I need to go more in depth in that, and that is just me. Anyway, they're saying that more than one instruction can be executed at once. I kind of explained that. If more than one node, like I said, think in functions. You have, okay, get account balance, save account balance, etc. Those would be like account, functions. Okay, so if more than one nodes are active at once, then this is their basis for their parallel computation. Okay, yeah, sure. And then another question I have is Zilliqa multi-threaded on the CPU. So I don't know, that's something that if it is multi-threaded, then yeah, that'd be great. And messaging between contracts, they say they have, which is cool. Plus GPU is planned for the future, but that's for the proof of work section only. Anyway, their scoring. Let's move on to their scoring. Bring up my little scoring sheet. Oh, before we do that, let's go take a look at their website real quick. Check out their team. They actually have a pretty good, solid team. One nice thing that I always like to see is if they give a LinkedIn button and you click on it, it takes you to like a real person. Yay, that's always a plus on my book. That actually happens on this site. Yay, so that is nice to see. Anyway, solid team. Check them out. Good team here. Don't take my word for it. Plus, ton of information on the site, so they are pretty open, and they have some videos. So check that out. Anyway, going back to my little scoring sheet. So I have Zilliqa here, and RM. That is their roadmap. And they actually have a roadmap, and they're doing stuff, and things are coming up, and so they don't go too far way out there. So, which, I mean, that's okay. They're going to have dApps coming up pretty soon in Q3. But anyway, on their roadmap, I'm giving them an 80. Well, actually, I'm going to give it an 85. And their vision, where they want to do that, yeah, it's pretty clear vision of what they want to do. They want to be a fast platform. Okay, great. And they spelled that out, so yeah, we know what they want to do. Now their tech, this is quite interesting. I'm not going to give it 100. I need to wait and see, but I'm going to give it a 90, and that's because mainly I need to go in and do some more of the research, and that's on my own time. And please keep in mind that, yeah, these values can change after I go back and look at something, but for the most part, I usually don't change them that often. Okay, their team is great. I don't have a problem at all with their team. Utility, will things use this if it gets up and going? Absolutely. ACC, what is acceptance? Will businesses accept and incorporate the model? You know what? They may or may not. It's kind of like, oh, will a corporation accept Ethereum? Well, what are they going to do with Ethereum, right? What are they going to do with it? They're going to make their own ICO. They're going to make their own coin. They're going to make their own dApps that run on Ethereum. So will they use the network? You know what? If it gets going, I'm going to say absolutely positively that people are going to use the network as well as other companies. Regulation, go back, see what that is. Can it be stopped by the government? Yeah, everything can be stopped by the government. Taxation, will there be thing for taxation? Yeah, there will be. It's a coin. Well, that actually kind of depends on the dApps. So I'm going to change that to about an 80. Competition. As far as like, yeah, there's going to be pretty dang high competition if they were, you know, from Ethereum and so on and so forth. But they're doing sharding, and they're the only ones. So I'm going to make their competition really low here. And their scalability, linear scalability, yeah, I like VeChain's model a little bit better for sure. So I'm going to give them an 80. And that gives them a really nice score of 98. So 98 for their score. That is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome in my book, a 98. Anyway, yeah, so that's my review. I hope you guys like it. Let's see where they're looking at on Binance. Oh, a little red tick right there. Oh, well, best of luck. ZIL just hit Binance. Check them out. But I'm liking this coin the more and more I read about it, and that's just me. Do your own homework and have a wonderful, fantastic day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and get notified of when I drop my next video. And best of luck to everyone. Have any questions or want to comment on what you think about Zilliqa, I will definitely look at your comments and try to answer each and every single one. Anyway, signing off. Have a great day, guys. Bye.